Trojan fans? Welcome to another special edition of Tunnel Vision. I'm your host, India Otto, a.k.a. Automatic, here alongside Connor Morrissette, a.k.a. Triple Double, and the boss man himself, Ryan Abraham. We've got a great show for you guys tonight. We're going to continue to break down the Northwestern Wildcats as the Trojans take them on tomorrow at the Coliseum. And we're going to discuss what the Trojans need to do to get a win, a must-win for the Trojans as they head for the college playoffs, hopefully. We got a tough game ahead in Oregon in the coming weeks, but we'll save that. We want to hear from you guys. We're live on YouTube and Facebook. Please call in today. The number to call is 512-4TUNNEL. We want to hear from you guys, and as always, leave your comments and questions in the chat. I will be sure to favorite them. Make sure you write questions so that I can see it. We got a lot of comments coming in. I don't want to miss yours. So questions, comments in the chat. We'll save them for the end. And we got a good show for you guys. How are you guys doing tonight?
I'm good. Yeah, this is weird. There's been a short week. And when India said there's a game tomorrow, there's a freaking game tomorrow.
Woo!
Yeah. So it's a Friday game. I would leave early. Angelinos or people that are visiting, don't be like, oh, it's 4 o'clock. I'm in Santa Monica. Let's head to the. No, you're screwed. Don't do that. Friday traffic in LA. No. Get there at like noon or something if you can. House of Victory tailgate starts at 3, so we'll get there. So we'll plan on stopping by there for a little bit. We'll see if we can get India down to a tailgate or something. It's
going to happen.
You haven't really tailgated, huh? Like that's not been.
I'm not a big tailgater. We had a couple tailgates that were mandatory during official visits that our whole team had to go to, but outside of any official visits, you would not find me at a tailgate.
Outside of being forced to go to a tailgate,
yeah, you wouldn't find me at one. Okay. But this year I'm going to go, so you guys will see me at one.
Okay.
Well, you're running out of games.
I am running out of games. I got this game and 2 more, but I'll be there.
Nice. That shouldn't be something you have to like get your arm twisted to go to a tailgate.
I know,
like,
isn't that funny? Most people are like, they wait their whole week for like the tailgate.
Yes.
I'm over here like,
you're like, I'm dreading this. Yeah, but it should be a lot of fun. USC and Northwestern, surprising 5-3 for the Wildcats, and winning record in conference 3-2. Ryan Braun's doing a really nice job. He was probably the biggest surprise 2 years ago when he took
David Braun.
David Braun. What did I say?
Ryan Braun.
Braun.
Player.
Yeah, that's the Purdue court. Like, yeah.
No, that's Ryan Braun.
Ryan
Braun's the Brewers outfielder.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
He's from L.A.
It's all over the place. Yes, he is. But, yeah, like the impressive job from him that first year. Everyone just thought they would be god-awful. They had there's a lot of stuff that's gone over there. And then, boom, they end up going to a bowl game. Took a step back last year, but, this year, looking forward, they're trying to get bowl eligible. If they, get the upset on Friday night, they will be able to be bowl eligible, playing in a temporary stadium. There's a lot of weird stuff going on, but still, it's a really well-coached team that figures some things out. I think there's a lot of similarities between Northwestern and Nebraska, and we saw Nebraska give USC's passing game trouble. Well, the same thing happened with Northwestern. It'd be interesting to see, but this is one of those games that you make mistakes, they're going to capitalize on them. So USC needs to bounce back from what you could say maybe was a subpar performance in a win on the road at Nebraska, come back home where they've played well and just play well, and then they should be okay.
You look at USC's schedule, and those first 4 games, we all thought USC would go 4-0, and they did. And now you got Northwestern, who, if USC had played them early in the year, would expect that to be a win. I expect that to be a win. I think we all do. But they're better than we thought, or at least I thought. Defensively, sound. Offensively, they've figured some things out in the run game. They have a good 1-2 punch at the running back spot. I want to make sure I get his name right. Caleb Komalafe has been really good for them, and Joseph Hyman, their number 2 running back, has been good. Both those guys average 4.9 yards per carry. The fact that it's in the Coliseum, of course, helps USC, but I'm with you, Ryan. This is a game where if USC plays with its food a little bit, Northwestern is good enough, as they've shown, beat Penn State, shut out Purdue. They can potentially give you some trouble. So I do think this will be a little bit more of a challenge than some might anticipate. Just seeing USC Northwestern on the schedule, you might not think very much of the Wildcats, but they've figured a few things out. They're 4-1 in their last 5 games, and that loss that they had before their bye week to Nebraska, if you watch that game, they gave up a kick return touchdown, and Preston Stone had a bad interception in the red zone that led to a short field for Nebraska. So 2 of those touchdowns weren't totally on the defense. It's a solid defense, and USC will be tested.
Yeah, and I think, we just saw USC and Nebraska play a really close game, and Northwestern did the same thing, before their bye week. And it's one of those situations that, a bounce the wrong, a different bounce in the USC game, and Nebraska wins that one, a different bounce in the Northwestern game, and Northwestern wins that one. So, I mean, they played that team, the most recent, common opponent, very close. So what does that tell you? And then, we saw Purdue move the ball up and down the field on USC when they played at Purdue, and USC got the win. Now, that's kind of screwed me the whole year because I kept thinking Purdue was going to be pretty good. I keep picking them. I didn't pick them last week. I'm like, oh, Michigan will cover, and they did not. But Northwestern shut that team out. They didn't even let them score. So we saw them have a lot of success against USC. So there's definitely some challenges here. The Trojans are, 2-touchdown favorite for a reason, but we've seen this team play well a couple times, maybe a couple halves. Michigan probably the whole game, but outside of that, we've seen some issues. And I think you let it go for 3.5 quarters of not playing well. Northwestern's certainly capable of coming in there and dictating their pace, slowing things down, limiting possessions. So if you turn the ball over a couple times, you do it 3 and out that's unexpected, we call it a trick play, or get stoned on 4th down. Those possessions are going to limit, that limits the game, and you don't have some success there. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, Northwestern's driving to win the game. And you could see something like that happening if USC doesn't dot all their I's and cross their T's.
I'm with you. And you mentioned that Purdue game. Northwestern knocked out Ryan Brown in that game with a tackle on a design quarterback run. Very physical defense. All this being said, I'm talking up Northwestern. I expect USC to win. I see it similarly to Nebraska, where USC should be able to outscore Nebraska, and that's what happened in Lincoln. Of course, the injury to Raiola totally impacted that. I think if Preston Stone is out there the whole time, USC should still be able to outscore Northwestern because this game is at home and just because they have more talent on offense. But the blueprint for Northwestern is something that they've done all year: run the ball, play sound defense, control the clock, don't get called for penalties, don't make a lot of mistakes. They're coming off a bye. The ESPN FPI gives USC a 90% chance to win. I think that's totally accurate. I would be shocked if it went the other way. But to what you were saying, if USC comes out there and has a pretty crappy performance like they did on offense against Nebraska last week, there's certainly a window for Northwestern in this one.
Yeah, I think the USC run game, it seemed to travel, maybe outside of the Notre Dame game. But that's something I think USC can do, run the ball well against Northwestern. We'll see what the offensive line looks like. Shotgun had a tweet about the number of different combinations from the offensive line this year. And I think there's at least 5 different starting lines for the 8 games, something like that. But basically a lot of mixing and matching on the offensive line. But they've been pretty consistent as far as being able to run the football. King Miller will get his first start in the Coliseum. So that'll be good for him. You guys talked this week, maybe Wayman Jordan and come back in a couple weeks against Oregon. We'll see. He could be out for the year, but King Miller will get his first start. And I think that's going to work. The passing game is what's going to be interesting to see what, Jayden Maiava is able to do. The coverage was really good from Nebraska, and I don't know if Northwestern covers as well, but they're kind of opportunistic. They can force some turnovers and force you into mistakes. So it's one of those things where you just got to I think Maiava's got to keep his nose clean. Don't put the ball in harm's way because, a couple of those passes could end up being, turnovers, and that's just, killing drives. And if it's going to be a limited possession game because everyone's running the ball, you don't want to have a couple turnovers mixed in there. So, yeah, that's the thing to watch for with Northwestern. I think they're really good at kind of figuring out, forcing negative plays in the forms of turnovers. And, it's been hit or miss with USC. Start off really good, not turning the ball over. And in the last, the games they lost, there have been a few more turnovers.
Preston Stone has thrown 9 picks, so he is a guy who is vulnerable.
He could give it away.
Make some mistakes, yeah. So that's where I'd watch. And then on the flip side, so Bishop Fitzgerald leads the country in picks with 5. Northwestern linebacker a linebacker. Mac Uline has 4 this year. He's been really good in coverage. He had one against Oregon, had one against Purdue. I think he had one against Nebraska as well. So that's certainly a guy to pay attention to on defense for Northwestern. And they just have a couple of players who have caught my eye. That edge rusher, Hubbard, is a good player. And Robert Fitzgerald is another defensive back who's had a nice season. I have said it all week. I've been pretty impressed with what David Braun has done this year. You look before the year, what were the expectations for some of those middle-of-the-pack Big Ten teams? And Michigan State has been awful, and Northwestern was in that same bucket. They could either be awful or kind of middle of the pack, and they've answered the bell, and Braun's been pretty solid.
Yeah. It's a pretty solid team. So it's a weird week. We already mentioned Northwestern coming off a bye. Now they do have to travel a couple thousand miles, and that's seemed to bother a lot of teams. That didn't go well for Michigan. They didn't seem to play all that well. They've played better football, I think, since losing to USC. They didn't play great against Purdue, but they got the win there. But yeah, that's the only conference loss for Michigan, and that was in the Coliseum. So you like USC's chances here, even though it's a short week. And I thought it was a little weird for Lincoln Riley to kind of mention that in the post-game press conference.
Off of 2 buys in October.
Yeah, it's like, you've had 2 buys. No, you got the short week. My co-host, David Woods from the podcast of Champions, just calls like Lincoln like a whiny guy and stuff, and just like, and it's hard to argue when he's like whining about the it's like, oh, we gotta, yes, whatever. You had a late game in Nebraska and you're flying home with one less day, so it's not, you're coming off a bye, so it's not like you're super tired coming into that one, but. And we've heard from, and I think when we talked to Anna Watson, when they were talking in the press conferences at Northwestern, talking about coming off a bye week, they were talking, Braun was talking about, hey, this is something that you could use your advantage, like where you get rust if you don't play for a while, and sometimes getting thrown in on 5 days rest, you can actually be more ready, So it depends how USC responds. We saw USC respond well after the first bye week, looked hungover in the second bye week, and then we'll see what they look like on a short week.
The fact that they're at home is all the difference. Last year, USC inside the Coliseum should have beaten Penn State, took Notre Dame right down to the wire, had a chance to win that game until the very end. This year, undefeated at home. It's just been a night and day situation with Lincoln Riley coach teams between the Coliseum and on the road these past couple seasons. So absolutely, I think that makes all the difference. The fact that USC has more talent, especially on offense, makes a huge difference. And I think we're all picking USC. Not that style points matter a ton at this point. If you can just win, then your college football playoff life stays alive. That's the most important thing. But I do think it's important for the offense to take a step forward. Maiava to complete more than 9 passes, show that the passing offense has taken a step forward from last week, and that's something that I'll be paying attention to this week because, yes, USC could win and run the option again and just take this game on the ground, and that could be enough. But I want to see some progress because that Nebraska game was progress in the sense that they finally won on the road against a team that I think is going to finish over 500. We'll see. They got to win one more, Nebraska, to get over 500, get to 7-5. They haven't beaten a team on the road who finished over 500 since 2022 at UCLA. So certainly progress there. But just what we saw, especially on offense, I didn't see a whole lot of progress. I do give Lincoln Riley and Maiava a lot of credit for switching the game plan and running more. That made all the difference. But I want to see USC get back to what they do well this week and show me some progress in that regard.
Some people in the comments are talking about Lake McCree and Walker Lyons, if you think that they'll be utilized more tomorrow going into the game. Thoughts on tight end utilization?
Oh,
hopefully Lyons is used more. McCree is going to be out there pretty much every snap outside of 1 or 2, if not all of them. So he'll be used, and the whole passing attack just wasn't particularly good against Nebraska. I think Walker Lyons was maybe targeted once, and he drew a pass interference call, so that was something. But getting both of those guys involved, the more USC can spread the wealth, that's helpful because then that opens things up for Mekhi Lemon, opens things up for Lane, Hines, Jayden Richardson. That is a big key, and yeah, their tight ends weren't used a ton in the past game against Nebraska. We'll see what changes. I wonder what Northwestern took from that film and what they'll try to do against USC and how USC will adjust. I said this on Wednesday when we did our show yesterday. the chess match in this is really interesting, I think. And I'm wondering if, because the last 5 quarters, USC's offense hasn't looked particularly good. I'm wondering if teams are starting to figure some stuff out, and let's see how Riley adjusts.
Yeah, and I think the fact that there was only 9 completed passes, that you could look at anybody, you're like, why don't Lemon only get 2 catches? You know, like you could say that about anybody. Like the way USC was completing passes, yes, everyone should have. They needed more eating going across the board. So I don't think it was just the tight ends. The passing game just wasn't working, and guys were being covered. And I think if the tight ends were going to be consistently open, where maybe the receivers were covered, then you get some opportunities to, there's some easier passes that Maiava can throw the ball to them. But you got to give credit to, Nebraska's pass defense, Sierra Wright, all those guys did a really nice job. We mentioned this on Wednesday's show, but even the flea flicker, which is designed to like get a guy wide open, Jaden Richardson was completely covered, and he had to make a contested catch.
Great throw.
It was a great throw and catch, but you could have just run a regular play and had him covered like that. So the flea flicker is supposed to a guy's running for. No, that didn't happen. Like USC's receivers had a lot of problems. They couldn't really get separation, and we'll see what they can do with Northwestern. Just you want to give Maiava some easy throws, some easy targets, and I feel like every time he did his first and second read, it was like super obvious that this, you're going to make a really tough throw into a tight window and a contested catch, or I'm going to keep going on my reads, and then it just wasn't. They just weren't there, weren't able to find guys. So I'm curious to see what Northwestern does and if they can take anything out of the playbook. Like, hey, we're going to let USC run the ball, and USC was very effective running the ball. Will they keep doing it? The critical drive where they ran the ball all the way down the field and then threw it the last 3 plays and ended up kicking a field goal. Can you keep running? Like, okay, you're going to keep covering our guys like that. We're going to run the football. We're not going to try to trick you in the pass game. We're just going to keep running until you, commit an extra guy in the box, and then we can have some more favorable matchups in the secondary.
Northwestern should be able to pressure Maiava a little bit more than Nebraska did, so I think that'll change the game plan a little bit. That defensive front is a little bit better than Nebraska's. They're not great against the run, but they have generated some pressure this year. Nebraska just isn't a good pressure team. I did leave that game impressed with, I think John Butler is the Nebraska defensive coordinator's name, right? He had a nice game. He's been in the NFL, I think, as a secondary coach before, and so the fact that their secondary was so good and it held up against USC, I was like, wow, I didn't expect that to happen. So if we're doing Helium Boys stock up, stock down, he would be on my stock up list. But back to USC, too. I think it's a big week for the linebackers where we've seen some inconsistent play from that group. They probably had their best game of the year as a unit against Nebraska. What did Northwestern see on film in that game? What did they see USC do against Notre Dame? And what can they do to try to put USC's linebackers in compromising positions? Because I do think the group is still a little bit inconsistent. And even though they did take a step forward, they're younger guys with Desmond Stevens, Jaden Walker Gentry, of course, is more experienced. But those younger guys, I don't think the progress is always linear. I think there's going to be some ups and some downs, and if Northwestern can take advantage of that inexperienced group again, that'll be a key. If USC's linebackers take another step forward or just continue to play at the level that they did against Nebraska, that would be huge and another big signifier of progress to me, which this game to me, I want to see progress. That's really important to me. As USC continues to push towards potentially getting into the playoff if they win out, I want to see some of these style points. Like, make me believe that you can go into Oregon and win, because right now I don't think so. But if you go out and play really well against Northwestern, I think that could build some belief for the fan base, for us. I don't feel great about that game right now, but let's see if that changes.
Yeah.
And also, if you guys are joining us, we are taking calls tonight. I see a couple comments. So the number to call is 512-4TUNNEL. Give us a call. We want to hear from you.
And we got 2 calls in the queue.
There we go.
Just like that. Let's start off with Cameron in Frisco, Texas.
Oh, can you hear me, Ryan?
Hey, Cameron. Thanks for calling.
Perfect. All right. Hello, Ryan. Triple-double and automatic. Got a couple questions I want to ask you guys. One specifically for triple-double. So, Connor, you talked about specifically that USC will most likely go 8-4 for the rest of the year. Probably going to predict that USC will lose to Oregon. So where do you see that 4th loss coming for the rest of the home stint between Iowa, Northwestern, UCLA? And then a question for automatic. I want her thoughts on the first win of the season for the Women of Troy, their basketball game win over New Mexico State.
Awesome. Thank you, Cameron. So I've gotten this question a lot. Yeah, the Oregon game, I think I would predict as a loss right now. And then, like, I understand why there is a group of people out there who see that Nebraska game and just think, okay, we won on the road finally. That's a hurdle that we haven't gotten to. We're just going to win the rest of the games that we should win. I thought if Dylan Raiola didn't get hurt, USC would have lost that game, which makes me a little bit nervous about an Iowa coming in or even a UCLA where Tim Skipper is going to get those guys motivated. So, like, I'm kind of in between that 8-4, 9-3. I'm sticking with 8-4 for right now, but I could see, like, it wouldn't totally shock me if Northwestern gave USC a tough game. Like, I don't think the rest of these games, I have a hard time saying it'll be this game that's the loss. I just, after what they showed against Nebraska, I think a 2-2 finish kind of makes sense to me, but I certainly don't rule out 3-1. And if you go 3-1, then maybe you're close to getting to 4-0. Like, it's all ahead of them. I'm not saying anything's impossible. I wouldn't predict a playoff run, but I guess if I had gun to my head, I had to pick one of the losses outside of Oregon, I'd probably pick Iowa, but I think the rest of these games are a little bit more challenging than some people think.
Yeah.
And India, what do you got on the women of Troy?
The Women of Troy game was good. I think that there's quite a few bright spots and obviously some areas to work on. It's the first game. I think transfer Cara Dunn was really impressive, and she's going to be a bright spot for the team this year and is going to contribute in a big way. I think Jazzy Davis, obviously freshman, no matter, she's got USA basketball experience and is a great player, but your first college game is always, there's going to be a lot of nerves. So I think she'll settle in, and I think she's going to be great for the program this year, and I think she's going to have a great big year. And then, I think London was a great spark off the bench. I was happy to see Malia starting at point guard. She's somebody who was a teammate of mine and works really hard and is a great leader. So I was happy to see her, really out there and stepping up into an upperclassman role. And I think the biggest question mark is going to be kind of just the inexperience with the bigs. I was impressed with Viv, who's a sophomore. I think she did some good things, and I think she's going to do really well this year. But I think that's just going to be the question mark, is the lack of experience from the bigs. And we'll see how that goes, going into Big Ten play. And but that's, there was a lot of good things that I saw, and obviously some areas to work on. But, it's the first game, so that's like any team.
All right, cool. We got another call. This is look like Mitch. Hey, Mitch.
Hi there, guys. How we doing? Thanks
Hey,
for
Mitch.
taking my call. Yeah, how you doing, Connor? Andy, I wish we had Juju. It's so disappointing we're going to wait against next year. That'd be something. Two questions. I hope Crawford, Cameron, whatever your name's going to be, Cameron and Jairo have a big game, and I hope our passing game returns, especially McKay and Lemon. Since I had like 2-3 weeks off on his last two games, I hope the passing game and yards stack up. Like they were at the beginning of the year. I'm Ty, and you guys enjoy the game. Talk to you next time.
All right. Appreciate that, Mitch. Yeah, you got to stay up a little late. He's in New Jersey, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You got to stay up late for this one, 9 p.m. kickoff your time. And, he mentioned Cameron Crawford. We just did an interview with him for House of Victory. Thanks to House of Victory. It's up on our YouTube channel at Inside Troy, and it's also up at uscfootball.com if you want to get to know Cam Crawford, fun sophomore out of Mobile, Alabama. Really fun kid to talk to. We enjoyed the conversation, and there's just been a lot of fun. Like getting these, 5 minutes after a game or a practice is one thing, but just to sit down with a player, much more relaxed, and just have them chat, and it's been a lot of fun. So hopefully you guys can check it out and enjoy it.
Yeah, I thought the Cameron Crawford interview was great. He came out of his shell a little bit, so absolutely check that one out. And then Mitch had a question about Makai Lemon, or not exactly sure what the question was, but it's a big week for Makai Lemon. After back-to-back games, only a couple catches, getting limited after that great start to the year. Him getting back on track would be huge.
Yeah. We have another call.
Let's go.
Yeah. It's not like therapy right now, right? Because USC won the game, but we, some people are interested in this.
Yeah.
It's a weird week. It's just a short week, but we got Alan in St. Louis. If I can pull it up, there we go. Alan, you there?
I'm here. Hi, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Before I get to my question, fun fact, I was high school friends and classmates with Ryan Braun at Granada Hills in the Valley, and I told him that he should go to Stanford instead of Miami because he would probably not make it in the big leagues. Then he had 6 All-Star games and won the MVP. So I am the certified dumbass. But my question is, I can't believe these words are coming out of my mouth, but is it possible that Big Ten officiating is actually worse than the Pac-12 officiating, given the sample size of what we've seen this year so far? Yeah. Thanks for the show, guys. You're doing a great job.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you.
It's a bigger stage. It was more fun, I think, in the Pac-12. Like, there was just some really wacky stuff. Now, to have like the VP of whatever, I forget what it was, the guy that like called down and like changed the call, like stuff like that is like, that's very Pac-12. But it's just as far as like the day-to-day, like how games are called, I don't know. It's kind of bad too. I think it's bad across the sport. But the Pac-12 was a different kind of bad, where I think there's a lot of incompetence in the Big Ten. With the Pac-12, I felt there was incompetence, but also with like an air of trying to dictate a result or to like sort of force things in a certain direction, where I don't necessarily think that's happened to the Big Ten. But you remember the USC back in the Connor loves back in the Pete Carroll days. But there was like a series of like 7 years where USC was the most penalized team and USC's opponents were the least. And you talk to like statistical people are like, that's a statistical impossibility unless there's like a reason behind it. So I think Pac-12, they were sort of like trying to, stack the deck or do whatever. Maybe they had some agendas. People think in the Big Ten, I don't think that's the case. I think there's just more incompetence there. I don't know. What do you think?
It's hard to quantify that. I'm sure Alan was talking about the first intentional grounding penalty on Maiava where Harry Dalton was right in the area, so that shouldn't have been intentional grounding. And Terry McCauley, the NBC analyst, came on and said, yeah, that was a bad call. And then I asked Lincoln Riley about that Wednesday, and I said, did you get feedback from the conference on that? And he said, no, it might be in my inbox when I get back. But I'll tell you this, my youngest daughter knows that was not intentional grounding, and that was a terrible call. So he's getting a little fed up with some of this stuff. But, I mean, off the top of my head, the Purdue holding on Jakeem Stewart was pretty bad. The non-holding call on the long touchdown run for Illinois up the sideline, I think the conference came back and said that should have been called. The first intentional grounding, all pretty big calls. I do think, though, other teams are probably in a similar spot where they have one or two pretty egregious calls, either called against them or not called. And I like to think that it all evens out in the end. That's probably wishful thinking.
Yeah.
But I understand the question because there have been some head scratchers this year.
It's funny. Brian in the chat, I think India put it up earlier, was saying the opposite of what I was saying. He was saying Pac-12's incompetent and Big Ten's biased. And I really feel the other way with that one, where it's the Pac-12 sort of went out of its way to sort of my question to Larry Scott one time, and Dan Weber I was in the press box and of one of the championship games or something, and I told Dan, can you ask him about, would you rather have a team in the playoff or would you rather have parity? And Larry Scott said parity, and then he got crushed for that and then had to come back and back off of it. But my feeling was they wanted parity. Like, that's why, like, when Oregon was good, Stanford was good, and Washington was good, and like Oregon would play Washington on a short week, and then Washington would play Stanford it was like they made it so no one had an advantage, but everyone had a disadvantage. It was it's just like idiotic, where like the SEC is going to protect their big brands. Like, if you're going to go in and beat Alabama, like Vanderbilt, you're going to have to do it on your own. We're not going to help you. But in the Pac-12, I felt like they would help David beat Goliath as much as possible. Like, they almost liked it. So yeah, I feel the bias more was in the Pac-12 than what I'm seeing in the Big Ten.
And that has to do more with scheduling than the calls, or do you like it was both?
No, I think it's just the whole just feeling of it. Like, you wouldn't put the Big Ten's not putting Ohio State in bad positions if they can help it. But you felt like the Pac-12 was willing to put USC or Oregon, like they'll put them in bad positions. It wasn't like, because that'll help Oregon State or that'll help Washington State. Like that seemed to be part of like the fabric of what they wanted to do in the Pac-12. They weren't going to boost up their big brands. They were going to, everybody's good, and so if there was that's why maybe it felt like more like a bias because they did feel like they wanted to share the wealth a little bit more, and I don't think the Big Ten really wants to do that. Like I wouldn't see a bias in the Big Ten of we're trying to help Purdue beat Ohio, upset Ohio State. Like I don't think that's going to be the case, but it seemed like in the Pac-12 that was more like something that was cheered on in the offices. Just my take on it. So
No, that makes sense.
Any more calls?
no, that's the last call. Yeah. So if you want to call in 512-4-TUNNEL, we can start taking some questions from the chat if you want.
I do have an email first that we can start with. Let me
normally
pull it
don't
up.
take emails.
We
Like I
don't.
tell people, don't email Tunnel Vision, but
this is a special.
it was special because
time
they mentioned
scenario.
automatic and stuff. So
And
it's
they
like,
had my favorite spelling with an A,
Yeah.
A-U-T-O, so it's my favorite. Okay, here's the email. Good afternoon, boss band, triple-double, automatic, Riley, nickname? We do have to get a nickname for
We need-
Riley.
I'll start thinking.
Oftentimes, you hear about a team's identity and what it is. I feel like this team's identity is running the football. However, they seem to have a Willie Mays Hayes, Major League, complex about them, meaning everyone knows they're good at running the football. They have a great O-line and a good enough running back. However, every now and then they decide to go back to their lesser option, throwing 3 consecutive passes on 1st and goal on the opening drive, and fail miserably. They need to start bunting, getting infield hits, and stealing bases, if you know what I mean. Rich from SD.
Rich loves himself some Major League. You probably haven't seen the movie. It's a very good movie.
I have not.
Charlie Sheen is like he's
I'll watch it. It's called Major League?
yeah.
Okay.
He's like the nuke, the pitcher, and he's just wild. They call it Wild Thing, and until he gets glasses, then he can't throw it across the plate. It's good stuff.
Is it a comedy? Sounds like
It's a
it.
comedy. I guess it's similar to what's the soccer one on Apple TV? What's his name?
Ted Lasso?
Ted Lasso.
Okay.
Where like you're like hiring someone to fail, and like they
And
basically
then they do really well.
yeah, like the team figures out that the owner wants them to fail, and they gotta do the whole thing. It's a great movie anyway, but a lot of baseball references.
Okay. I'll watch it. I
in
like
there.
baseball.
So the identity is running the ball, and Rich wants to see more of that. I co-sign on that.
Yeah, no, and I think I talked to Harvey Hyde this week, and he felt like this team's identity was running the football, and it can get away from it a little bit. Like, is it a reluctance reluctance to run the ball at times? He mentioned the opening drive, but the other drive I mentioned was when you had a bunch of King Miller runs, and you get down inside the 10 or around the 10-yard line or whatever, and then it was like pass, and I think there was a penalty or whatever, and they end up kicking a field goal. If I'm remembering that correctly, but yeah, that's
false start on the 4th and
then they were going to go for it on 4th down, yeah,
field goal.
But yeah, so situations there, like, why don't you just keep running the ball? So I think it is the identity of this team. Like, it's the one thing that's probably been the most consistent. But USC's passed the ball really well, and it was a bad game, probably the worst quarterback performance that we've seen from Lincoln Riley at USC. And I don't know when the last time he had something like that. Like, that was just a bad performance from the as far as the passing game goes, and we just don't see that often. But I do feel like the run game is something they can rely on.
Miller had a couple 3-pick games, right? Those would probably be up there too.
Yeah, the 3-pick ones, but the higher completion percentage and more.
In terms of completion percentage, absolutely.
Yeah.
The only thing that I go against the emailer a little bit, USC really had a hard time running the ball against Notre Dame, and I agree that for the most part it's a big part of their identity on offense. But in that game, Maiava, until the end, had more success in the air, and they just really couldn't get that running game going. So it depends. It's all matchup dependent. And Notre Dame has a good front, and USC really liked to target Christian Gray, the cornerback, and it worked for the most part until the end when Maiava threw a bad ball that he intercepted. So that's the only game that kind of goes against the running game being the what's the word he used? The identity of the team.
Yeah.
All right. We only got a couple questions
All right.
today.
Short
but
week,
one
could be a
that-
short show. That's
exactly, but one that might spark some debate. Okay, we've got the first one. Let's see. Do you think there is any truth in Josh Pate's take on LR leaving for another job? A lot of people have been talking about it in the chat.
It's common. Yeah. So
Let's get into it, baby.
yeah, we could talk about a little bit, as much as you want. You're right there?
Yeah, I'm good.
Kicking things.
Kicking things.
Yeah, we've heard there's definitely been some rumblings of that going on, and Josh Pate came out and said something, I think, on his show yesterday, and then I think there might have been another show that he went on or something. Obviously, there's a lot of job openings right now. Big ones in the SEC. You got LSU, Florida, Auburn. Other big. Penn State's open. A bunch of other jobs could open. And Connor and I were talking about this. I haven't heard anything specifically, but when you get something like this, it has to come from somewhere. And then you just think, okay, what are some of the options? And like Connor had mentioned, would Lincoln Riley's people be putting this out there to get him more? Now, I don't know if that would be the case because he's already got this crazy deal that USC can't get out of, that he's getting paid, I think he's got like $80 million on his buyout or something. I don't think there's any upside for if someone wants to poach Lincoln Riley. The administration is not trying to like re-up the contract. Now, Nebraska did. I'm not sure why. Like, it just seems like a lot of ADs are making bad decisions. But I'd be really shocked no matter if, the Patriots came up and wanted to hire him, if USC would be doing anything more than what's already in his contract. So I don't think Lincoln Riley leaking something like this would make much sense. Just, spitballing this here. So could it come from a school? I don't think, like, his agent, like, he's already got this locked in crazy contract. So I don't think there's something to gain for Lincoln Riley by putting this out there. So is it coming from a school? And if it's say it's Florida or something, and maybe in some back room with power brokers, names came up and someone was like, hey, we should look at Lincoln Riley. And 3 people in the room said, that's a horrible idea. I don't want that to happen. Let's leak it so people can crush it, And so that's a possibility. Like, there's a lot of weird things, but I have a hard time picturing it coming from the Riley camp.
They'd be more secretive.
Yeah, they wouldn't want that out there.
But how happy is he, do you think?
That's the question. Like, is he happy? Is he not? Is USC happy with him? A lot of USC fans aren't. I'm sure that's stuff that he sees. Like, if you're not feeling all that welcome, you still have some crazy 7-year guarantee deal left or whatever it is, getting paid $11 million a year. Like, you're doing okay. Like, you're living in a mansion in PV. I had a USC legend call me last night. I was at the Laker game, and and he's like, he's never taken that. Like, you wouldn't want that. I've been to Gainesville, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on with him, but you have to. For Lincoln Riley, he could do what he wants. Like, if he's like, hey, I don't think I can win at USC, it's going to be harder to win at like Florida or LSU. Like, the competition's tougher. The Big Ten's tough, but the SEC and LSU just fired their coach because he didn't win a national championship, not because he didn't have like a decent record and stuff. So I feel like as far as like Riley goes, I don't know if it would make much sense to go to one of those jobs. Would USC be like all that upset? Like, if they got out of that contract, like, I don't know, like maybe that gives them some options. But would LSU or Florida or whoever want to hire Lincoln Riley? Because it's been pretty mid the last couple of years. And then it becomes a situation like the more he wins, like if he goes 10-2 this year and goes to the playoff, then he becomes more desirable. But then, well, you can go to the playoff at USC and you got the number 1 class coming in. Do you want to leave? So it's almost like counterintuitive. Like, the better he does, the more likely he is like, well, I can win at USC, I would stay. But the worse he does, it's like the other teams aren't going to want to hire him. So this, just for me, without sourcing or everything, doesn't make a lot of sense. But, we've seen way crazier things happen.
It all depends how happy or not happy he is at USC. But 2 things I want to say. So Josh Pate dropped that on, I think, the Bussin' with the Boys show, the Taylor Lewan and Will Compton show. Just at the end, he said, watch Lincoln Riley. And then the show ended. They were like, what are you hearing on the coaching moves? And he said, watch Lincoln Riley. And then the show ended. So he didn't provide much context. But I'm seeing so many USC fans about Josh Pate saying, oh, he's making it up. He's just trying to get eyeballs. He's just trying to get clicks. Ryan, we can both speak to this. That guy is plugged in. He did not just make that up. He heard that from somewhere. Now, the flip side, for the last couple of years, if USC and Lincoln Riley, it failed. It was a failed marriage, and things didn't work out. There's been a lot of talk, Baylor would be a very logical landing spot for Lincoln Riley. And the reason I bring this up is because this is just what happens. This is when jobs open up, when you've had the success that Lincoln Riley's had, you just get linked to other positions. And so I can't speak to the validity of the Florida or the LSU connection or what Josh Pate had to say, other than I'm sure Pate did hear something. But, like, this is just kind of the game where you hear all these things all the time. With, like, the Florida job, Jed Fish is a guy who would go there in a second, but do they want to give him the job? If they can get Lane Kiffin or they can get someone else, like, it's just talk. And I think right now, when USC is in the middle of a college football playoff race, nothing's going to happen for a little bit more time down the road. So just keep stock of that. And I do think if USC, say they do get to the playoff this year, he'd be crazy to leave, wouldn't he? Next year projects to be better. Like, I do think circumstances can change depending on how USC does too.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like, I think the better USC does, the more desirable he would be somewhere else, but the less likely you would want to leave, because the reason to leave USC is, like, you don't feel you can win there. But I think you'd have a better chance of winning at USC the way things are going now versus going into, Auburn. There's been a lot of problems there. I think they have a good roster, but LSU, similar kind of thing.
I think it's easier to get to the playoff from the Big Ten than the SEC.
I think so too. He would really have to not like what's going on around here. If you don't like the administration, if you don't like the person, whatever it is, like, it would have to be something like that. Like, you want to get out and you would go to, you don't want to say like worse. Like, LSU is one of the top jobs in the country, but obviously it comes with even different pressure than USC. And USC have a lot of pressure to win, but LSU, they had 3 coaches in a row that won a national championship. So Brian Kelly didn't win a national championship, and you're out. So you don't get a lot of time to figure this out. He went blue blood to blue blood and was thrown out of there. Now, I think it's curious that for the USC administration, they don't have a lot of cards that they can play, because you do have a coach locked up to this long-term, fully guaranteed contract. If Lincoln was hired away, that's now free, and then they can make their own decision on the coach. Now, they may or I don't think you ever want your head coach getting poached away, but it does open up, especially at a time where funds are not. If they feel like they can get like an amazing $6 million coach, that frees up a whole bunch of money, and they're not locked into some deal. And if they want to do a 4 or 5 year deal for somebody instead of the 10 or 11 or whatever Lincoln got, it would give them some options. I'm curious what the fans would say too, and we see what's happening in the chat. Because Oklahoma, we still get Oklahoma people coming into our chats upset that Lincoln Riley left, So it's sort of like you left me, just like a breakup of a relationship. I mean, there's a lot of USC fans that don't really care for Lincoln Riley. Like, would they be all that upset? But you don't like him when he's your coach, but if someone else takes him, then people will be like, oh, hey, I want to, I
want him back.
Right, I want him back. You're not good enough or whatever. Yeah, so but I could see something like that happening too. But it's a crazy coaching carousel. I mean, his name would certainly come up, but he's 13-11 in the last 2 seasons in the regular season. Like, you're going to sell that to LSU or to Auburn fans or to Florida fans? I don't know.
Somebody in the chat said Oklahoma can have him back.
Yeah, but Oklahoma hates him forever because he left them at the altar or whatever, right? Like, that's kind of what you feel like. But I think some USC fans would be upset too. We did get a super chat, looks like.
Hell yeah. Let's see. Then somebody says keep Riley to the end of his contract. All right, let's see. Hold on. Let me get my...
Yeah.
Thank you, Andrew. Jeff Monken and the triple option to USC. RBU forever. Thank you, Andrew.
Man, they're already okay, so literally just behind the scenes, personally for us, the best thing for our business is a coaching search. Like, that is the best thing, So much fun, everything. There's all this speculation. It's like the absolute best. More traffic, more subscriptions. Like, it's the craziest thing in our business. Like, it's the greatest thing. I'm not seeing, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It would have to be something like what Connor said, like Riley's just really not.
It'd be him leaving
happy.
On his own.
Yeah, he would be not happy here and go to another situation.
Unless they lose out, but I don't think any of us think.
Chip Kelly wanted out of UCLA, right? And he ends up taking the offensive coordinator job at Ohio State. So, I mean, he went from in conference, from head coach to OC. Now, he won a national championship, but it was whatever. But it was still a down move, but it was more lateral than most head coaches going to like a coordinator job. It would have to be a situation where he just doesn't want to be at USC anymore. And I could see it if it was like he felt like he couldn't win. But they're winning more now. They got the top recruiting class coming in. It seems like you shouldn't be like rebuilding in year 4, but whatever, you're there. It seems like it's going in the right direction, and you would want to see that through. So it would have to be, I don't like it, I don't want to be here. But then you might go, okay, I'm going to go to a situation that's maybe harder to win and harder to get into the playoff, but I just don't want to be at USC anymore. But even if that was the case, I can't see you selling it to Florida. Like, I don't know, like, they're going to be like, we're excited for Lincoln Riley. Like, it'd be great if he came out of Oklahoma, like, but what we've seen the last 4 years at USC, it's just not been the same.
If he does leave, I think USC makes a serious play at Kalen DeBoer.
Somebody asked what his buyout is. Asking what Kalen DeBoer's buyout is.
I'm not sure on that, but the connection with him and Jen Cohen and Cohen's connection to Courtney Morgan, the general manager there, I have no idea how the behind-the-scenes staff would play out.
But if you're crushing at Alabama, and they might be crushing this year.
I think last year left a bad taste in his mouth where, what did they go, 9-3, and everyone was pissed at him?
Oh, they wanted him fired, yeah. Like 9-3 is like the end of the world at Alabama, just to say where the expectations are.
So it
and
never...
they get a really bad loss to start the season, but now they look like they're good.
It never goes the way you'd think in like an ideal world. But in an ideal world, if he comes to USC, pairs up with Cohen, like they're just there until like that's their moment. They're there for a decade ideally, and they're just working together, and it just works. Like they've made a national title game at Washington. This is probably a conversation for a different day, but
I think Alabama would have to like miss the playoff again or something. You know,
I think
they would leave.
I think he.
I mean, they could win the national championship.
It's like the happiness thing. It's like, am I happy here? I don't know how happy he is.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how happy. But
I'm not thinking either guy would get fired. I think they would have to be on their own.
Yeah, I think the weird thing, and we've seen the amount of buyouts in this cycle is absolutely insane. I think it's like 130.
No, 200. It's like 200 million.
200 million in dead cap money, essentially. Insane. That's just, you're just paying people to not work. And I thought you might learn from it. And I've heard some of the national pundits talking about it, where like you have to be that first AD that just says, we're giving you a 5-year deal, and this is how it's going to work. We're not tying us, you up for 10 years, and if it doesn't work, who's going to do that? And maybe there's so much pressure to like win right away. If you went out, I got a Kalen DeBoer, he would have to have some ridiculous contract too. So you go from one ridiculous contract to like another one. And now maybe because of their relationship, it wouldn't, but I would assume you're getting a guy away from Alabama. You're getting a lot of guarantees and stuff like that. Or do you switch to trying to do the Curt Cignetti model where you get a guy that's crushing it at a different level, and you bring him in, and they bring a bunch of his players in, and you get success right away. And then if he crushes it, then give him now Cignetti's making tons of money. But that was after like a year and a half of him just eviscerating every opponent.
Yeah, for every Curt Cignetti, though, there's a Billy Napier,
No, that's true. But then you don't tie up Billy Napier. You're not tied up forever. You can get off of him. Like if you make the bad hire, you can get away, where if you didn't like the Lincoln Riley hire, it's really hard to get away. The Jimbo Fisher hire, it was really hard to get away.
Go get Coach Prime. That'll make everyone happy.
Yeah. I mean,
some people are talking about Marcus Freeman.
Oh, give me a break. Why would he come to USC?
No, that's dumb.
They said Marcus Freeman at USC would be a dynasty.
What? And all the hatred. Oh, Notre Dame. Now you want the coach? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Like some of the national guys were talking about Brian Kelly was at Notre Dame to come to USC. I think they could tell that Brian Kelly was pretty much done at Notre Dame, so like you're finding spots for him. LSU was pretty shocking too, but there's like it's hard to do that with a rival, but that was so weird because we never see in our sport leave a blue blood for another blue blood, and the fact that it happened twice in like 2 days.
Well, everything's changed.
Yeah, it's changed. Yeah. To go like the Notre Dame coach leaving for LSU, like that would not happen, and it did. And then the Oklahoma coach leaving for USC, like that would not happen, and it did. And within like a couple of days of each other, which is insane. But yeah, not sourced, don't know, but it doesn't pass the smell test to me. Like, yeah.
Could he be mad that he had to get rid of Benny Wiley and he's holding a grudge?
Yeah, it could be some. It would have to be. To me, it has to be Lincoln Riley like wanting to go. Like, there's not really a better situation out there. You'd have to start. I mean, maybe he feels like
Texas Tech. If that opens up, that's a pretty damn good situation. Unlimited money and going back to his alma mater. I think there are better situations, but USC's is a very good one.
Yeah, but like LSU, like, oh my God, like, what do you got to do to survive there? And
yeah, but I think Texas Tech is probably a better job than LSU. As crazy as that sounds, because they're in a weaker league. You have unlimited money.
Yeah, I mean, people will crush you for saying that. Like LSU,
but you know what I mean?
It's one of
less pressure.
It depends what you want.
Money,
like, do you want to make the
easier
playoff?
Path to the playoff?
The easier path to the playoff is big. Like, that's a huge deal. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a better job. And but
Andrew agrees with you.
Yeah.
This was like a couple of 10 minutes ago.
Oh, yeah. So I mean,
but why would Texas Tech get rid of their coach? They're having a great year.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I think we're reaching here. Like,
but crazy shit's gonna happen.
There could be some crazy shit happening. This would have to be pretty crazy. I think it would be tough for Riley to go, but it's sort of been like you're just making it happen because you whatever reason you're not liking the way things are going here. But
let's see what happens against Northwestern on Friday.
Yeah, that's true. But like if you're USC, like that's not the worst thing in the world. Like there's a bad contract. He's not lived up to the contract. Like to hire an $11 million a year guy, 4 years ago.
If Bowden is locked in with whoever the next coach would be, which is a big if, then I agree with you. But that could get a little dicey.
But you got to be making the playoffs. Like you can't be paid as a top 3 or 4 coach in the country and not even be in a 12-team playoff ever. Like USC's never been in it, so you're not getting the value of this contract. So if the person's going to leave and you get out of it, then you get out of it. Now, who knows? Maybe Riley makes a playoff this year and they go on a freaking run and win a championship in a year or two. Like then, and if anybody leaves and you miss out on that, yeah, like that's certainly a possibility. But things would have to change quite a bit. And it looks like they're changing in the right direction, which is great. And that's one of the other reasons why you'd think Riley would want to stay. But yeah, I don't know.
Great question by whoever asked it. And India, you were right. Certainly sparked some debate.
Sure did.
Yeah.
Nick Saban out of retirement.
I think he's
done.
Likes the cushy TV money.
The TV money is great.
Yeah, there was a couple questions though about that. Somebody asked also follow up. They said, "Is it true?"
It's the hot story of the week.
If Riley's agents met with LSU, Florida, and Auburn, so spark some debate. All right, let's see.
Not buying all
that. Okay, question: Is Maiava regressing to his norm?
I think he's better than last year, but a little bit. Like I don't think he was quite as good as he showed to start the year, and he's not as bad as he showed against Nebraska. There's somewhere in the middle. It's probably much better than Nebraska, but regression against better defenses like we've seen the last couple of weeks was always likely with him.
Yeah, but even after the Notre Dame game, he still was over 10 yards an attempt. Like, now some of that was skewed from the earlier games, but the numbers were pretty spectacular. So we'll see. Like if he can, it's another pretty good defense he's going to face. But I agree with Connor. He's better than he was last year. So if you look at the norm of what was happening last year, like that's not. I don't think that's where you are right now.
Okay, let's see. Somebody asked, "What are the odds to make the playoffs?"
The official odds. Let's go to another question and I'll look.
Okay.
As far as, I mean, we can give our odds or whatever. So I mean,
say 18% would be mine.
Yeah, I was somewhere like in the 15 to 20 range. A lot's going to depend on how they look Friday. But if they can beat Northwestern and beat Iowa, and depending what happens this weekend between Oregon and Iowa, like Oregon has looked beatable at times, but you can't go and play a C-plus game up there and win. Like I think Oregon's going to play well. So I think for USC to beat Oregon, you got to play really well.
You don't want Oregon to lose to Iowa.
Then they'll bounce back and want to like destroy USC. But they want to anyway because of the recruiting aspect. I think, Notre Dame was up for the USC game. No, USC was up for the Michigan game. They weren't up for the Notre Dame game as much. I don't know how much they'll get up for the Oregon game. Oregon will be up for the USC game. So you got to go in there and play really well. But I'm thinking more in the 15-20 range too. But
I'm not good at math, so I don't know how this shakes out percentage-wise, but on FanDuel, USC to make the playoff is plus 540. To miss the playoff is minus 850. So heavily against.
that's a little less than like 20%.
Okay,
I think,
a little less than 20.
So I think that's
17%, maybe 18.
Maybe 18. Was I spot on?
it might be, yeah.
Let's see. Okay, last questions. Maiava again. Do you think this is Maiava's last year as a Trojan, either going to the NFL or transfer elsewhere?
I don't think going to the NFL.
It's a great question. It's not a great quarterback class. I do think if he ends the year strong, he could. But who's coaching next year? What is Hassan Longstreet doing? I would hate to be like, I'd love to be a quarterback right now because you get paid and you're playing under Lincoln Riley. That's awesome. But the decisions and the pressure and the offseason with these guys, I don't envy that at all. So let's say Lincoln Riley stays, and I think if he has a good finish, Ryan, he's gone to the NFL.
Interesting. Okay.
If he stays in the middle, but then it's like, well, do you want Longstreet to take it over? And if you don't promise Longstreet the job, does he leave? It's a total dance you have to do around so many different things. So gun to my head, I'd say no, but I think I'd say 60% no, 40% yes. I don't feel great one way or the other on that.
And it's funny. Riley got some criticism for Miller Moss not being great and what were you doing, and then Jayden Maiava 7 turnovers in the last 4 games. I think Riley's going to should get a lot of credit for seeing something in Jayden Maiava that maybe a lot of the fans didn't, or even
they also went 3-1 in Maiava's 4 starts.
They did, but he didn't. That the Texas A&M game he played bad for 3.5 quarters or whatever.
Yep.
But to go through the whole offseason and dedicate yourself to making him the leader on this team, and the way he's come out and leading a lot of statistical categories. So I think Riley did his job with people were talking about, oh, he's supposed to be the quarterback whisperer. Well, hey, man, it took a guy that turned the ball over a lot at UNLV, turned it over a bunch when he was thrown into the fire, and has done a much better job of taking care of the ball and been efficient and pushing the ball down the field and done a lot of good things as a quarterback that we just didn't see even his freshman year or the end of last year. So I think Riley's got to get a bunch of credit for developing him. And if he does finish strong, like Connor said, yeah, he could
Chance.
he could go to the NFL.
Let's see how he plays Friday and how he finishes. I think kind of quietly it's a big opportunity for him. The last 5 quarters he hasn't been great. I'd like to see him bounce back too.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all the questions we got.
Sweet. Tim says smash the like button. Yeah, if you're going to like or subscribe our feed, we're on YouTube and we're on Facebook Live. And then you can watch the replays later. So if you're trying to get in the chat and it's Friday morning, it's we did the show Thursday night. So there was some, I think Shotgun tweeted our podcast from yesterday, earlier today.
You were like,
and
that
some
was
guys
yesterday.
what time? I'm like, this was yesterday. Just click the link. You can see it. It's so funny, trying to do more work. But we were live again tonight, and we only got,
Not long till
no.
game day.
Yeah, game day is just 4 hours away here. Game day, yes. Friday games. So
Gotta
weird.
Give our picks.
Oh, yeah.
We do.
And what are your guys' 3 keys of the game?
Well, Ryan can't give that information.
Yeah, that's for my story. I can't.
That's Ryan's
All right.
baby. Sorry, India.
It's okay.
Yeah, that's you can't it's opening presents before Christmas,
Good point. Good point.
But the picks, look, what do you I got India's sent in.
Yeah.
So India's.
I can't even remember what I thought the score was. What were you going to say, though? You were going to team me up?
One of the more.
He might have said
your
might be in
records.
last place.
Yes.
I know.
I'm trying to figure out a nice way to say last place.
I know. I'm. Yeah.
You,
That's
Riley.
okay. New to tailgating, new to gambling.
Exactly.
Yes.
I said that USC was not going to cover.
So you took Indiana plus the 14.5.
Northwestern.
Northwestern.
I'm sorry, Northwestern.
Ryan Braun.
And
Ryan
I
Braun.
said,
Great outfielder.
I think, but USC will win. Give me USC 31, Northwestern 24.
Okay.
But I just can't pick the cover because every time
You get burned.
I get burned. So prove me wrong.
I'm
but
close to you, India. I have USC 30, Northwestern 20.
okay.
Nice.
So not covering either.
Not covered.
Yeah.
There we go.
So I have a
Feeling
thing
good.
here. So on my podcast of champions, I took Northwestern and the 14.5. Here I'm going to go something similar. I'm going to say like 27-20 USC. But when we write up our picks,
You're gonna change it.
I might be doing something
Oh.
different.
My goodness.
So what's your pick right now?
I'm going to say Northwestern in the points, but 20-27. 27-20
But you want to
USC.
maybe have an advantage in case it goes
I'm
the
just
other way?
saying, no, it's for our picks, just for our thing. When I write something up, I might have a reason to pick something. This is what I think is going to happen, but I might just pick something else for our little contest.
Because you want to get ahead,
Yes.
right? Yeah, okay. Nothing wrong with that.
We'll see. But I there's a part of me that's like, USC is just going to come out and go gangbusters on these guys and score a
Yes.
bunch of points. And
Yep.
sometimes that happens after like a disappointing outing.
Not playing under as much pressure.
Yeah, and but I think Northwestern's a really good, well-coached football team. So, but there's a part of me that thinks like USC just sort of rolls them a little bit.
Yeah.
Got a
Somebody in
question.
the chat said 45-17.
17.
Oh, here we go. Jacket at the Coliseum or only on the road?
El Gordo, thanks for the super chat. Yes, no jacket at the Coliseum. What's the weather supposed to be?
I think it's going to warm up tomorrow, I saw.
Look at that jacket.
Yeah, no, it's 2-0 in Big Ten road games. Haven't had to wear it in the Coliseum because it's not cold there, and it is a warm jacket.
Yeah, a little hotter tomorrow, peaking at 78 in the afternoon, so you're not going to need that thing.
No, you don't need the jacket there. And I didn't wear it for Illinois because it was nice.
You maybe should have wore the jacket.
I guess I could have, but
Probably would have stopped the food poisoning.
Right.
yes, that was the jacket can protect you from food poisoning. It's like one of those. It's like a Dungeons and Dragons jacket. Like what powers does it have? +3 protection from food poisoning.
Exactly.
Yes, would have been perfect.
Exactly.
I don't know what Notre Dame was, but there was a.
Not a Big Ten game, so throw it out.
Yep.
And it didn't protect you from the weather, so it's not a good rain jacket.
No,
Minus
it's
3 rain.
It's like
points.
more sweat. Yeah, -3 versus
All right.
any rain,
Let's wrap this up.
rainy monsters. All right, let's gonna wrap it up. Oh, this is India's job.
Oh, you got it. You
No,
got
it's
it.
your
You
show,
were
India.
ready. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to Tunnel Vision. The fellas and Riley will be back on Saturday, not Sunday.
No, Sunday.
No, Sunday.
Oh,
And-
it's gonna be
and
Sunday?
It's gonna
Aw.
be Chris and not me because I'll be at the
Oh,
men's
okay.
basketball
So
game.
Chris,
Chris
Ryan,
coming
and
in?
Riley.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well,
Unless
on
you want to
Sunday.
ask someone else, he said he could do it.
Well, there you
All
go.
right.
We can figure it out off the
Okay,
air.
we'll
I think
figure
it'll
it
be
out.
Chris.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, on Sunday they'll be back to recap the Trojans win versus Northwestern. We're manifesting, and that's it. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you Sunday.